So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Loud House. So let's start the series. Fire style, fireball jutsu, a voice hollered out from across the layered plane as a colossal ball made from fire was sent off on at our blonde legend who figured out how to jump over the fireball's way with a little exertion as he then arrived on the ground with a crash laying on his side. Darn it all, Naruto Uzumaki pitifully expressed out as he made headway and looked towards the one who began this entire shot battle. In any case, Madara Uchiha, or would it be a good idea for him, he say Obito Uchiha, the ex-individual from Konoha and the now fundamental component that gives the conflict a difficulty fight to manage. Surrender at Uzumaki. You might have fixed Madara Uchiha away, however you would never beat me, particularly when you're in this state, Obito Uchiha shared with the kid who attempted to obliterate his arrangements on making the timeless Tsukuyomi from an endless dream to a reality into this hurtful world that holds that of brutality and annihilation. Naruto gritted his teeth since it was valid. After they fixed the genuine Madara, Obito figured out how to utilize Kami on him when everyone was centered around the unmoving group of Madara that was at long last being fixed inside a thick layer of sand with seals concealing it from the base to the highest point of the body. I need to complete this fast, he thought as he crossed his fingers together, Shadow Clone Jutsu, as two puffs of smoke showed up right close to him. When it vanished, it uncovered two of Naruto's clones. I perhaps in this state, yet so are you, since you can't vanish like previously, so presently I could hit you, Naruto said without holding back to the Uchiha jerk. Obito noticeably recoiled as he understood he was unable to utilize his interdimensional method to evade now, since he is as of now in his layered plane. The main thing he could do is magically transport himself to this present reality, and the way that he was as yet wounded by his fight with his old partner Kakashi Hatake prior made it challenging to move, yet he grinned at the fair legend. It doesn't make any difference, since when I'm finished with you I will proceed with my arrangements until the end, he shared with Naruto with limited eyes and a crazy smile, while Naruto had his eyes shut, however at that point opened them with assurance in his currently steel-shaded blue eyes, not assuming I have something to do with this. With that the two of them rushed to one another. This world, Obito thought, this world, Naruto thought, will. Obito drew nearer to Naruto, will not. Naruto was presently straightforwardly before Obito, and Obito tossed his left clench hand at Naruto, and Naruto tossed his right clench hand at Obito, as both their initial crush into each other making a shockwave. They remained there with their most memorable crush together, both battling for strength, until Naruto bounced back and tossed 3 shurikens at Obito, who dismissed it back with his kunais. Obito then, at that point, hops up high while looking directly down at Naruto. Fire style, flaring twister, he blew a typhoon of blazes that encompassed Naruto in a warmed vortex. Then he heard a yell coming behind him, sage craftsmanship. Enormous Rasengan, he pivoted just to meet both of Naruto clones. He could do nothing as the Goliath winding of grandiose breeze was simply simple crawls close to his face, similarly as a blast rung off. Gah! Obito gritted his teeth as he was pushed back from it. Before he could do anything he was kicked high up by the genuine Naruto, who leaped out of his assault. The principal clone bounced from Naruto's back was currently sent flying over Obito as it threw a punch at Obito's head, thumping him towards the ground. 2, and the last clone ran towards him and kneed his stomach as he was then sent colliding with the ground. 3. They wouldn't permit Obito to do anything now that he was paralyzed. They needed to end this rapidly, so centering a lot of chakra into their hands they each framed their assault, and inside the space of seconds it was shaped and they immediately sent off it. Genuine sage workmanship. Rasengan shuriken flood. They all watch as all of the 3 shurikens flew towards Obito in high rates, yet Obito figured out how to evade every one of them in a moment. You missed Uzumaki," Obito expressed tranquilly as he arrived on his feet, yet before any of them could accomplish something they heard a slight break on the double. The two of them went to see a surprising sight. The three shurikens that Naruto tossed didn't as yet handicap, and they were as of now digging themselves into the ground as the enormous breaks were showing up. Yet it didn't stop there. The huge breaks were showing up high too, similarly as the shurikens at last detonated. Obito eyes augmented, the aspect self-destructing. He looked towards the Uzumaki and laughed uncontrollably while Naruto impaired his clones. He looked towards him with limited eyes. "How did you respond?" he thought. "Well, this is farewell, kid," the Uchiha roared with laughter as he utilized the remainder of his chakra to leave the aspect. Naruto shouted out as he ran towards Obito, however lost his balance and stumbled, laying on the ground on his stomach. He reviled as Obito was at that point gone from the plane. That is the point at which he felt an unexpected development under him. He peered down to see huge break structure from under his situation. Feebly he attempted to move, yet he has previously spent a great deal of chakra. Lastly, the floor underneath him aired out with him falling into it in the center. The last thing he saw while falling into the dim chasm of Obito layered plane was a few bizarre entrances that were close to him as he was sent flying into one unintentionally. Naruto didn't have the foggiest idea what happened. He just fell in an opening and presently he was only an endless dream when he out of nowhere felt something get him on the sides and hauled him out, and that was the point at which it was lights out. What? Naruto pondered on the grounds that his eyes were feeling drained hanging, yet at the same time he battled to keep his eyes open. Where am I? Naruto contemplated internally. He was presently right now gazing up at a roof with the room's clear light shining above him. The last thing he recollected was falling into a entry. Naruto murmured to him. It was very much like Kagaya's. Naruto murmured out from his place, laying in a little bed of some kind or another. He didn't move from his spot as he just gazed at the roof above him prior to waking up with wide eyes. Everyone, he thought, in trouble in the event that Obito was as yet alive. That would mean he's pursuing the others still. However, he will be cursed assuming that Obito harms his valuable individuals anything else than he previously had. He attempted to stand up, yet for reasons unknown proved unable. He attempted to move his legs, however he could squirm them, and that was the point at which he understood that he could move his arms, yet right when he moved them before his face he ended up being confounded out of nowhere. Out of nowhere the entirety of his stresses over his companions left his brain as he attempted to sort out what's up with his body. Little hands. Naruto gazed with confounded eyes while gazing at his guess hands that became more modest than their unique size. He did only open and close his minuscule hands together, getting a recognizable inclination towards them, and that was the point at which it hit him like a raisingan to the stomach. He was a child. This cannot be occurring. Naruto hollered out with awful eyes, however all that emerged from his mouth was murmurs. Ga. He quit talking when he heard two separate voices, with one voice being on each side of him. He turned his right side to see a blondie child embracing a pink cover. He then, at that point, went to the left to see a similar blonde child, with the exception of this one had a light blue cover. He squinted his eyes when he moved them between the two. While seeing the covers he saw a name sewed upon the covers. He looked at the pink cover embracing child, Lola. He then looked at the light blue cover embracing child, Lana. So these young ladies are clearly twins, yet the thing am I doing here? And that was the point at which he perceived that he, at the end of the day, was in a cover. He gazed vacantly at it while flickering. How for the sake of Kami did I miss that? He murmured prior to seeing the shade of the cover. Decent. He grew a dopey grin that showed his very enthusiasm for the orange cover. While respecting his orange cover, he didn't understand that the two children began rolling once again to him while dozing. Naruto unexpectedly felt something on his side or in the event that both of his sides. He turned and saw that it was both of the blondie infants who were embracing both of his sides while revering little grins. Their little hands pulling and hooking onto his sides in a quiet way. "Aw," Naruto cooed at them, "they are adorable." "No, Naruto, keep on track, you need to figure out what's going on and leave." He began arranging until he heard a squeaking commotion in the room. Despite the fact that he was unable to get his head as far as possible, he could see that the squeaking commotion came from an entryway that is within the room. He laid there peacefully while his sisters began to nestle him in their own oblivious state. "Okay, minimal on OWE, what in blazes, Judy?" A male's voice was heard. "Quiet down, you dumb specialist for a sibling of mine." Judy, a medical caretaker, murmured out to her sidekick, "You're going to awaken the children," she went on prior to strolling towards the little bed that contains 3 children in it. Her and John's new task was to carry the infants to the guardians, and she will be doomed assuming that her accomplice messes things up. "No doubt, except for you didn't need to hit me," John mumbled, trailing closely behind Judy. They stepped before the little bed, gazing at the 3 little babies. "Is it me, or do those uproarious couple have an excess of youngsters?" John said while Judy gestured at that assertion too. "I know well nearly everyone in this medical clinic is familiar with the uproarious, since every one of them and their exceptional kids were brought into the world here," Judy answered to him. "Better believe it, however they are fairly irritating," John said with a troubling look when he thought about his experience when he met the boisterous kids. It was anything but a tomfoolery experience for sure for him more often than not. "Hello," John said while Judy looked towards him to see that he was pointing a finger. She followed his finger to see one of the children conscious. The child in the center, who has a little orange cover, were gazing at them with interest in his eyes. "And how in damnation does this kid have 6 feline-like bristle imprints?" Sigh, "Man, the offspring of the Louds are getting increasingly weird each time I see them, right, Judy?" He went to his accomplice just to perspire drop when he could see her clearly cooing at the youngster. "Oh, you're lovable," Judy cooed at the center blonde child, who just named his head such that made Judy nearly need to screech without holding back on how charming this one kid is. "Okay, an adequate number of we need to convey them to the guardians," John said as he went to the side of the room and took out an emergency clinic truck. Judy gestured and snatched tight the little bed and hooked it onto the truck's worker for hire. "Well, you're going to meet your new family, little ones," Judy grinned while peering down at the 3 children in the truck that she was pushing. John was there close by, grinning too. It was a decent inclination each time when they see the children of the medical clinic meeting their folks without precedent for a really long time. "You really do realize we will lament being pleasant when they grow up, right?" John grinned in a naughty way that caused Judy to feel a piece reluctant. "Don't remind me," she had saw what kids resemble when they grow up, and it wasn't pretty. "Well, we are nearly there." The 2 of them reached stop before a room and thumped onto the entryway before a male opened the entryway. Yes, the male was all merry in his sweater vest and jeans. He acquired a greater grin when he saw the truck and hurried to it. "These are..." The guy's answers were affirmed when John gestured cheerfully. "That is correct, these are your trio's 2 young ladies in addition to 1 kid, 1 child and 2 girls, Mr. Lin Noisy Sr." In spite of the fact that no one could see it, one of the children broadened their eyes and, assuming they looked nearer the child should have been visible, expanding, "I have been reawakened." "The sun is up," a 6-year-old Naruto expressed, gazing toward the window. 6 years, huh? It has been definitively a long time since he has been renewed into this new world. A world that is considerably more tranquil than his own. Regardless, yet there is one issue, something that this world doesn't have that is generally typical in his reality. There was no chakra. Naruto doesn't have any idea how there is no chakra in this world, since the things he had advanced as a youngster when he broke into the Konoha structure region where the library is was that each and every thing, whether it be rock or water, has chakra in it, but this world doesn't. How was this conceivable? Well, unfortunate little Naruto cannot actually sort out that baffling solution for himself, but he followed off as he gazed at his hands with an engaged look and focused sufficiently, and saw a framework of blue scarcely perceptible to the eyes of people around his hands. I actually have chakra, yet just a little look at it, he murmured as he maneuvered back the energy into his body. Indeed, even today he thinks about what his companions were doing, yet all he could trust was that they were all right any place they are. In any case, he would genuineness never had remembered to be renewed in an extremely, and I mean exceptionally enormous family. How was that even conceivable? Damnation, 2 years after I came into this world Lisa was conceived, and then Lily, Naruto murmured while referencing his virtuoso sister and the most current child in the house. Naruto knows where infants come from, and he thinks his father is having too much fun with mother. Genuinely, what's next? They're going to have another child again 1 year from now, he remarked to himself, yet he was unable to quit grinning when he pondered his new family. It was his fantasy to have a family while growing up as a youngster, yet it was astonishing when he has a great deal of sisters in this specific family. Obviously he adores his new family, and he couldn't at any point exchange his life right now on the planet. And furthermore, the name that they decided for me, Naruto, as a matter of fact. His name was Naruto, just Naruto, however, to supplant the N in his name with AL. That is outright bizarre at this point. It appeared to be that each of the noisy kids have a name that starts with AL, and since he is important for them, then he should have AL name. Ring. Naruto halted from his viewpoints when he heard a natural ring. Paper. It was the morning paper that was constantly conveyed in the block by a person named Bobby. Naruto really respects Bobby for starting off promptly in the first part of the day, and once in a while they even talk together for a couple of times before he raises a ruckus around townhouse. Not just that Bobby was functioning as the paper kid, however, he was likewise the beau of his most seasoned sister Lori uproarious. He was an okay person in Naruto's book, however, on the off chance that the person at any point makes Lori extremely upset, well, he will have an awful mishap. A mishap that contains many water inflatables in his not-so-distant future. Rapidly he surged external subsequent to opening the house's entryway. Hello, Bobby. Naruto waved toward Bobby, who quit riding his bicycle out and about before his home. Hello, little fella, Bobby waved back as Naruto could see that he was wearing a blue shirt and dark pants. The blue shirt had a little image of a paper on it. So that is your functioning uniform? Naruto called attention to the uniform. Bobby gestured in affirmation. Yes, he said when he contacted his uniform, it's quite perfect. Then they heard the telephone ringing and Bobby went to get it. He took his telephone out from his pocket and was going to respond to it before Naruto surged over and took the telephone. Hello, for what reason did you do that, Naruto? Bobby asked with a grimace, yet halted when Naruto was seeing him truly well as serious a kid could get. Bobby, quit noting your telephone while taking care of your business, Naruto harshly told Bobby. He generally recollects that Bobby was once in a while terminated on the grounds that he was giving an excessive consideration to his telephone as opposed to taking care of his business. I know, yet I can't, in light of Bobby swallowed when he saw the 6-year-old youngster squinting his eyes on him. Briefly Bobby swore that an enormous structure was remaining behind Naruto. What did I say regarding calling her that before me? Naruto murmured, waving the telephone hazardously toward Bobby. Bobby winced. Okay, I got it, he shook in his place. Very much like the way that the noisy sisters are defensive of their siblings, the uproarious siblings are as similarly as defensive, well, just Naruto was defensive while Lincoln simply floats along with things. Goodness, okay then, Naruto recovered his blissful grin that showed up all over, which Bobby moaned in help to. Well, here is your telephone back. Naruto threw the telephone up in the air while Bobby attempted to get it, and when he at last got it, Naruto was behind him and his bicycle. Have a pleasant day. Naruto then, at that point, kicked the bicycle toward the back. Typically nothing would happen on the grounds that he is a 6-year-old kid, yet Bobby doesn't know a certain something nonetheless. He was not an ordinary 6-year-old kid. Naruto whistled as he watched the bicycle rocket forward in high paces, with Bobby waving his arms up high while shouting. That was quite amazing, Naruto noted down to his entertainment. Presently, about the paper. Naruto focused on the side of his yard and saw the paper. It was simply laying on the ground in its place. He went over and got it. Darn it. Naruto bounced a piece from the uproarious yell. Assuming he was right, the proprietor of that voice was, he convoluted and confronted his neighbor's bearing. He was demonstrated right when it showed his neighbor Mr. Grouse. Hello, Mr. Grouse. Naruto waved energetically at him while Mr. Grouse glances over to see who was calling him, just to see a kid he was intimately acquainted with. Naruto. Mr. Grouse squinted his eyes dubiously at the 6-year-old youngster. Out of the relative multitude of uproarious youngsters, Naruto was a secret. For example, when that youngster was a child, he saw the child creep onto the side of the house with no gear. Following that, throughout the long term, that Naruto kid had the option to do a great deal of bizarre things. Hello, Mr. Grouse. Naruto actually kept on waving cheerfully. Mr. Grouse recently protested something softly about strange children or something, and immediately hurried into his home with a wet paper that arrived on a mud puddle in his yard. Okay, Naruto looked as Mr. Grouse withdrew into his home. Ah, he cherishes me, he expressed, remaining in his spot happily. Naruto knows that Mr. Grouse was known as the most grumpiest individual in the area. However, Naruto knows that Mr. Grouse has a heart, an extremely kind one without a doubt. What's more, I will show it one day. Naruto snapped evilly in his spot. In the meantime, Mr. Grouse shivered for reasons unknown. He believed he ought to be wearing assurance in the event that he runs into that Naruto kid once more. In the wake a tad, Naruto went inside his home once more and thrown the paper onto the table. How can Lincoln do? Naruto pondered. He shrugged and strolled higher up and into his and his sibling's room. His sibling was a white-haired, orange polo shirt-wearing kid. Must cherish that shirt, Naruto murmured, extremely satisfied with the way that his new sibling had begun to really appreciate orange. It's at last here. Lincoln noisy cheered out, gazing at a schedule. What's here? Naruto asked before Lincoln embraced him firmly while bouncing all over in an energized rush. What's more, for what reason are you behaving like Lenny when there is a deal at the shopping center? Naruto asked him. Lenny resembled extremely Mary when there is a deal at the shopping center, so it was ordinarily typical for her to cheer out while embracing somebody for the event, and that somebody was generally him when he is close to her. Since Naruto face jerked, he actually needs to become accustomed to that name. It's the live season finale of the best show ever, ARGGH. Lincoln shouted out, skipping in his spot with Naruto in his arms. Better believe it, that won't work out, Naruto vacantly said, making Lincoln let go of him. How are you going to get the television first? Naruto asked Lincoln with an aloof look. It was difficult for them to stare at the TV, particularly with 10 sisters battling for it to watch their own show. This is on the grounds that younger sibling is on the grounds that your older sibling got an arrangement. Lincoln was entertained when he saw his younger sibling's jerking face. He was glad to have a younger sibling so he doesn't need to confront the sister twister alone this oceans. He took out a radio. Recruit Clyde, do you understand me? Yeah there. Distinctly finished, Naruto brought an eyebrow up in interest before he perceived that voice previously. It was his sibling's dearest companion Clyde. Now is the ideal time to place the arrangement in real life, Lincoln said as he dropped the radio onto his bed and ran out of the entryway. Ensuring that Lincoln was out of the room, Naruto got the radio and turned it on. He took one hack before he heard Clyde's voice. "Lincoln, is that you?" Naruto chose to reply in the most haziest voice as could be expected. "No, it's me, Clyde." On the opposite side, Clyde, who was all grins, had his grin broken instantly as dread entered his heart. Hi, who is this?" he bashfully asked through the radio. Where could Lincoln be? "Lincoln Uproarious isn't here right now." However, more critically, you're gazing and making gooey eyes at an image of Lori Noisy, aren't you? Naruto loathes debases a ton, yet seeing a companion of Lincoln respect his sister in a peculiar manner is a sizable amount of proof to terrify the person a bit. Clyde was formally gone nuts. He was, to be sure, gazing at an image of Lori Boisterous, yet how does this individual be aware? Who are you? Also, assuming you're after Lori, I'll safeguard her. Clyde didn't have the foggiest idea who the outsider was, yet since he has noticed Lori, then she should be in grave peril at this moment, and he wouldn't allow a person to hurt his future lady. Dull laugh. "It isn't Lori, I'm later." "It's you, Clyde, that I am later." Simply hearing that sentence made Clyde pee a little on his bed. "I know what your identity is and I understand what you need, Clyde. If you're searching for a relationship with Lori Uproarious all around, how about we simply say it won't occur, mate? I have an extremely specific arrangement of abilities. Abilities that I have gained from an extremely lengthy vocation. Abilities that make me a bad dream to admirers like you. On the off chance that you abandon respecting Lori Uproarious, that is its finish. I won't search for yourself and I won't seek after you. However, on the off chance that you don't, I will search for you. I will find you and I will give you most exceedingly awful wedgies since the beginning of time, and furthermore I know one significant reality about you. I know where you reside." Naruto polished off his threatening message as he offed the radio and dropped it back on Lincoln's bed. He had an exceptionally fulfilling favor his face. Most likely now he would quit crawling on Lori. Naruto expressed obscure to the way that he made Clyde drop in dread back in his own home. Presently, what is Lincoln doing? Naruto pondered while leaving his entryway. He then continued to look as Lincoln attempted to divert each of his sisters into their own rooms. He passed by Lincoln, who was occupied by dismissing Luna's consideration, and surged down steps to where the television is. He took a gander at the sofa in the front room and saw that it was unfilled. With an enormous jump he was currently sitting on it, and check here, he ventured into the love seats cover and pulled out the remote. Would it be a good idea for him he save this for Lincoln or out? He followed off when he sensed a presence close to him. "Hello, Lucy," Naruto welcomed with a sluggish grin as his goth younger sibling was there sitting right close to him on the love seat. "You recalled that me?" Lucy vacantly shared with him. "Are you astounded?" Naruto inquired. Lucy didn't actually gesture, since she definitely realizes that her younger sibling could continuously tell where she is. Whether it was the storm cellar or the loft, Naruto might in any case find her. In addition to at whatever point she jumps out of the blue, Naruto was the one in particular who doesn't get terrified of her. Her younger sibling was at that point a secret to her. She feels dimness, depression and numerous other pessimistic feelings within her sibling's heart, yet he actually grins. "Need the remote?" Naruto asked as Lucy gestured. Naruto threw the remote to Lucy, who began wandering off in fantasy land of what Edward will do straight away. She was gotten off from her viewpoints as Lincoln went into the parlor with seemingly a triumph grin. A grin that dropped when he saw her on the lounge chair holding the remote. Lucy, he cowered. I generally disregard Lucy, he sat hopelessly, the account of my life and I was here first, Lucy murmured out, hauling the word first. While they began talking and contending on who gets the distant Naruto chosen to see what his sisters were doing, he left and went higher up to see his older sibling One. Video keep something in the twins' room. What are you doing? Naruto asked while One went to check out at him happily. Him and One got along perfect since the two of them liked jokes and tricks. Hello Lars, simply recording a video that will become a web sensation. Naruto topped into the room and saw his sisters Lola and Lana battling. He turned around to One, truly, yet One overlooked him for recording the little battle between the Magnificence and the monster, and as of now the princess was behaving like the genuine monster here. Lola bounced onto the rear of Lana while tossing hits with Lana fighting back with her own slaps. Previously becoming weary of the battle, Naruto ventured into the room. Okay, everybody stop. The following thing Naruto knew was that Lola and Lana were both by his sides, embracing him like crazy. Naruto. The two of them welcomed in a state of harmony, like how Naruto's eyebrow continued to jerk in a state of harmony since he actually hasn't become acclimated to that name even after 6 years of living in this world. Naruto planned to advise them to allow him to go until the lights went down, and out of nowhere Naruto ended up getting pressed more tight by his sisters. What befell the light? Lola asked. A piece creeped out with how dull the room is. Both Lana and Naruto shrugged, yet Naruto could see Lana likewise daintily shaking in her spot. We should get together every other person, Naruto said. Thus they left the room together to track down everyone with the exception of Lincoln and Lucy in the foyer. Okay, everyone quiet down, Lori shared with every individual who was going ballistic, fundamentally to Lenny, who continues to shout that she was visually impaired. Lenny, you're not visually impaired, Naruto told Lenny, and presently he wound up out of Lola and Lana's venture and into Lenny's trembling arms. Laru, Naruto saw Lily being held up by Luna, and clearly the child was checking out at him with her enormous eyes. Hello Lily, Naruto waved towards the applauding child. Gracious Laru, thank heavens you're okay. Lenny embraced Naruto in a delicate and caring manner while Lola and Lana moped. They needed to embrace Naruto as well. Lincoln came, and that was when contentions between one another began to happen, yet all the boisterous house individuals with the exception of Naruto moaned when one made a joke. Hello, I know why the lights went out, cause they like one another. Get it? She continued to laugh. Lisa compensated Luan with a treat for the fine joke. Luan, thinking it was any considered common treat, ate it, and out of nowhere she was gleaming green in the haziness. All kin with the exception of Naruto wheezed. What did you put in that treat, Lisa? Naruto moaned. He doesn't despise his sister's leisure activity, yet he detests it when his sister tests onto the family, since it helps him to remember a specific snake-like man. Before Lisa could talk, Lin chose to voice her considerations. Where's Lucy? Lin glanced around and she was unable to track down her flatmate. I'm here. Everyone except a grinning Naruto shouted. Being a drawn-out night was positively going. What are you doing? Naruto really wanted to ask, as he could see Lincoln twerking while at the same time pushing his pelvis up high. However, unfortunately for Naruto, Lincoln was excessively caught up in his game to pay attention to what his younger sibling needs to say. Take this, zombie. Lincoln hollered while putting his hands behind his head, then continued pushing out of sight. It has been half a month since the shutdown and everything has returned to ordinary. Well, as would be expected, the uproarious house could get in any case. He is excessively caught up in that game, Naruto remarked while gazing at his sibling's game glasses. He was as yet shocked about this world's innovation and the way in which far it came. He attempted to mess around too, for example, like those ninja games in the arcade. Naruto sneered in light of the fact that the game that he played in the arcade didn't have anything to manage genuine ninjas, since it had no procedures that ninjas were assumed to have, like the ninjas back in his reality. That was not the way in which genuine ninjas work, he thought. I'm ablaze. Lincoln was getting truly into his game, however he neglected to understand that he was moving and twerking into a perilous zone that caused Naruto nearly to feel frustrated about him. Would it be advisable for me, I cautioned him. Naruto second-guessed himself before he saw Lincoln moved his direction into his most established sister's room. 3, 2, and 1 inch Naruto checked to him before he heard Lori's yell of outrage. Lincoln. He heard his sister holler at her sibling, presumably furious that he disrupted the one guideline in the house, which was so avoid her room. Okay, Naruto extended and popped his shoulders. Time to save him. He took a quiet inhale prior to running into Lori's room just to see her waving a clenched hand at Lincoln while undermining him to avoid her room. Time to put my follow-up on. Lori halted as she heard a tentative voice and went to see her second younger sibling remaining by the entryway, checking out at her with watery eyes. You're not battling, are you? Naruto whimpered delicately to himself, yet Lori winced when she saw it. She realizes that Naruto could do without it when their kin battle. No, obviously not. She took a gander at her clenched hand that were still before Lincoln and quickly set her hands behind her back while wearing a major grin. She winced once more as her younger sibling applauded together, wearing a major grin himself while his honest eyes showed clear help. I realize that you wouldn't battle after all. Older sibling is consistently great and could never hurt us. She was obviously feeling regretful at this point. Her younger sibling accepts that she was generally great. She gracelessly snickered, then looked at Lincoln with a grin, yet a risky sparkle was displayed in her eyes, which Lincoln made an interpretation of it to, "You're so fortunate, runt." Lincoln could never cherish his younger sibling more. Well, we will go at this point. Lincoln immediately got Naruto and hurried out of there while Lori feigned exacerbation with a sneer. She could obviously tell that Lincoln was terrified. Much obliged, Naruto. Lincoln expressed gratitude toward Naruto, who shrugged accordingly. Don't sweat it, Naruto said. Well, I will utilize the restroom. Lincoln removed his game glasses and whistled, strolling into the washroom with his game in his arms. Naruto. Naruto was then bazookaed by 2 expedient blonde shots. He was presently stuck to the ground as his sisters were embracing him firmly. Hello folks, Naruto moaned and took a gander at his sisters, however at that point flickered at their clothing. For what reason would you say you are folks wearing that? Lola and Lana should have been visible wearing sunglasses while likewise having a similar sort of uniform on. Decent variety, Naruto remarked, unconsciously making the young ladies pillar at him. They realized that their siblings' number one variety was orange. Oh, you are so great, Lola spouted, squeezing his rotund cheeks. Naruto frowned as he could see Lana giggling, and his mope developed when Lana chose to have a good time too. She energetically scoured his different cheeks. No doubt. Yet anyway, were the new corridor screens at school? Lana began talking before Lola chose to polish off the sentence. Furthermore, we are rehearsing at home. Naruto was gazing at them abnormally. When did his sisters turn into the school corridor screens? Genuinely, he was with them the entire day during school. Before he could talk anyway, Lincoln showed up before them through the washroom entryway. Well, he was pushed out of the restroom so Lori could utilize it. They looked as Lincoln began to murmur something about, not regarding a man's protection. He strolled past them feeling testy and went into his room. Right when Lincoln went to his room anyway, Naruto heard a breaking sound coming from the restroom. He, in addition to his sisters, turned and saw Lori leaving the washroom with a blameworthy articulation. Lori. Naruto called out. He saw Lori hop a piece at his voice. I sat idle. Lori out of nowhere shouted out while gnawing her nails with a stressed articulation prior to running down steps. Mother, I want the keys. Naruto planned to consider more what simply occurred, however, before that. Kindly get off me. Naruto compassionately asked his sisters. He doesn't care about their consideration since he was enthusiastically glad to acknowledge his family's good thoughts, yet at times it very well may be awkward for him when their signals irritate him. Sure, the two twins said as one and pulled their sibling up to his feet. He was happy that he was presently not being stuck onto the ground any longer, yet lifeless seconds after the fact. They permitted him to get up, yet they didn't relinquish him. Their arms are still on him. Naruto glanced around to attempt to turn their course onto something different prior to seeing Lincoln running out of the room. Look, a sprinter. Naruto brought up, which Lola and Lana took note. Huh? A confused Lincoln murmured with wide eyes since he saw his sisters unexpectedly thrust at him with irate eyes. Be protected, Naruto murmured as he petitioned God for his sibling's soul. His sisters let him go, however it was followed through on for a cost. A sibling's opportunity. I will always remember you, Naruto saluted with counterfeit tears from seeing Lincoln attempting to escape his sister's handle yet proved unable, and while they are solid, Naruto mumbled on the grounds that Lincoln couldn't get out. Lincoln continued yelling for them to let him go, however Lola and Lana disregarded him. Lana opened the entryway, Lola directed and Lana gestured with a harsh articulation prior to strolling to their room and made the way for uncover. Naruto needed to rub his eyes very much like Lincoln, who quit battling to see what was in the room. Truly, Lincoln and Naruto murmured simultaneously in light of the fact that right before their eyes was one of their older siblings, one, who was in a little cardboard-like enclosure. It even had bars that accompanied it. Hello, One, Naruto waved while One waved back with a tasteful grin all over, flaunting her supports within her wide grin. Hello, Lars, One welcomed from her little enclosure. Lars was her epithet for him. Scandalousness is the norm at this point. Lincoln palmed his face. He ought to have expected this since there are a great deal of strange things that occur in the boisterous house. We secured Luan for making awful quips, Lola said while Lana gestured. Without taking a gander at one another they continued to high-five themselves. Naruto gestured, obviously dazzled, however at that point gave a fake scowl at Luan, saying terrible jokes. Luan, that is a particularly grimy wrongdoing, he said in an investigator voice. Luan chose to cooperate. I was unable to assist it with officering. It appears to be that I just been boxed. Get it? She laughed while the others moaned at her activities with the exception of Naruto, who covered his mouth from letting out a little giggle. Ha! Luan pointed at Naruto. He gets it. Lola and Luan became weary of the jokes and chose to gradually close the entryway on Luan. After a couple of alerts on Lincoln and one more embrace on Naruto later, the two screens passed on the two and went into their space to give a legitimate discourse to Luan about being a productive member of society and quit making terrible wisecracks. Lincoln raced to the washroom for reasons unknown. No. Naruto heard Lincoln shout in the restroom before he heard the vehicle's motor outside. Lincoln's room. Okay, I comprehend that your game broke yet. Naruto pointed at Lincoln's companion who was scouring Lincoln's broken game onto his face with an odd demeanor. For what reason did you welcome him? Naruto mumbled prior to sending a frown at Clyde, who began murmuring something which made him nearly throw a left hook at him. Okay, Lori, this machine was moved by her, Clyde moaned affectionately, scouring the machine and holding. Maybe it was the most valuable thing on the planet, however halted when he felt Lincoln's younger siblings' mean glare on him. Hello, Naruto, Clyde timidly welcomed with an abnormal grin while Naruto just glared more enthusiastically. This person simply shouts deviant to Naruto. Well, I will rake her over the coals, Lincoln said furiously, disregarding the way that Clyde began shuddering from his sibling's look. He got out his duck telephone and called Lori's telephone and chosen to tell her in a phone message about how he was feeling. One exceptionally great cussing act later. Oh, and to that end you are the most exceedingly terrible sister ever. Lincoln shouted into the telephone and balanced it in the wake of wrapping up his tirade. He had a fantastic grin all over in the meantime, with Naruto and Clyde notwithstanding. Incredible Kami, Naruto murmured out with wide eyes. He was expanding in light of the fact that the words that Lincoln said was major areas of strength for so. Naruto bet, assuming Madara or Tsunade heard what Lincoln said, they would promptly recoil from the activity. Naruto was certain that a few brilliant words that Lincoln utilized wasn't even in the word reference yet. I didn't realize he had it in him, Naruto mumbled. He heard something break down and saw Clyde gazing at Lincoln as though he committed a risky sin. Poor people fellow was shaking in his boot. However, before they could praise on it, Lori opened the entryway into the room. Lori, Clyde expanded for a couple of moments previously, to Naruto's and Lori's nausea, grew a nosebleed and swooned. Naruto shook his head at Clyde with a look of repugnance at how the person acted, particularly before his sister. You, Lori shuddered, a piece weirded out from Lincoln's companion's disposition. She simply trusts that Naruto doesn't make strange male companions like that later on. Hello Lincoln, sorry for breaking your dumb toy, so I presented to you another one. Lori tossed Lincoln an article which he got. He looked carefully and saw that it was another set of game glasses. Before Lincoln could say something, Lori left the room with a pleased grin all over. You are so full-grown, Lori. She tapped herself on her back before she went to her room, locked it and went down steps to sit in front of the television. Lincoln crested his head out of the entryway and saw Lori strolling down steps. Extraordinary, it seems as though she doesn't have her cell. He immediately went to Clyde. While I attempt to erase the message, I want you to be the post. Clyde gestured, however at that point acquired a certain grin. That is simple, after all I'm dependably keeping watch for Lori, Clyde said with his hands on his hips. He was wearing a major grin what blurred when he heard Naruto's voice. What did you simply say, Clyde? Clyde swallowed and went to see Naruto scowling at him. He wasn't shaking a direct result of Naruto, no, he was shaking in light of the fact that Naruto was holding a polished ash 2 times his size with scarcely exertion. Naruto grew a cruel grin all over when Lincoln passed on the space to slip into Lori's own. Naruto looked at his bat, then at Clyde. Lincoln, Clyde called out, yet Lincoln was excessively far from the space to hear him. Poor people fellow was shuddering in his place now as Naruto moved toward him. In the meantime, Lincoln was in the foyer watching Lola and Lana giving a discourse to Lily about well-being. He looked at the vents. I need to get in there. He then saw Lily slithering away from the 2 young ladies. She's making a run for it, Lana hollered out while pursuing their slithering child sister, with Lola following right after her. She was falling behind her unconsciously anyway. They passed Lincoln without understanding his situation. Okay, here I go. Lincoln ran into one of the many rooms and shoved a table to the side to uncover a vent. Gotcha. He slithered into the vent, yet promptly got frightened when Lucy was there too. She was simply staying there toward the edge of the vents with a piece of paper in her grasp. Hello Lincoln, hear my sonnet. Before Lincoln could fight, Lucy began recounting her sonnet. Inside the wall I decide to be separated from everyone else, and assuming I at any point get adhered, if it's not too much trouble, pay attention to my groan. So what is your take? Lucy asked in the wake of discussing her sonnet, yet she then understood that her sibling left. Moan, she mumbled. Clyde was beyond Lincoln's room. He didn't have the foggiest idea how he may do from Naruto's swinging his bat around, yet he did so. Presently he planned to assist Lincoln with his arrangement. He saw Lori coming up the steps. He grew a terrified look, however at that point acquired a decided one. I need to slow down her. He immediately took out a marker, drew a phony mustache over his lips and removed his shirt. With that he went to Lori, who at last arrived at the highest point of the steps. She was seeing him, nearly anticipating something. Well, Lori began saying with a cocked eyebrow, contemplating whether her sibling's companion will express something to her. What's more, for what reason is he shirtless? Lori contemplated internally. Naruto, who was still in the room, crested out to see what occurs. He permitted Clyde to leave calmly in light of the fact that he should assist his sibling. Okay, now I lament not hitting him, Naruto murmured when he saw Clyde taking a gander at Lori with a shocked look before he grew a nosebleed and swooned, a cheerful, distorted, as Naruto would like to think, favor his face. Lori, who was disturbed with the blood, raced to her room and opened it with a rageful articulation, imagining that her meddling sibling was in there. However, she loosened up a piece since she was unable to see him. Obscure to her was the way that Lincoln figured out how to come into her space to get her telephone. I nearly had it, Lincoln mumbled discreetly with sweat trickling from his face. Lori's telephone was directly before him, yet hearing strides coming to the entryway he rapidly hid under one of the beds that were in the room. Wow, new messages, Lincoln heard Lori tell herself. I am so cherished. He crested free from the bed just to see her leaving the room. The mission is compromised, the bundle is moving. He grew a terrified look. In the interim, Lori strolled down steps while paying attention to her new messages on her telephone. So far the majority of them were from Bobby. She moaned affectionately since she cherishes her Bobby. Goodness, I need to see this, Naruto expressed, emerging from his and his siblings' room. He saw Lincoln surging out of Lori's room and passed by Lola and Lana, who were eating donuts. Lana gazed at the running white-haired kid. Shouldn't we get him? Lana asked her sister, who shrugged accordingly. Nah, it's our break at this moment, Lola expressed, crunching on her donut. Strawberry jam-filled donut equals yum. A terrified Lincoln with an inquisitive Naruto showed up ground floor just to see Lori re-establishing her messages while laying onto the love seat just to hear the message go off. Hello Lori, it's your dear sibling Lincoln. Lincoln bounced at Lori to attempt to get the telephone, yet rather arrived before her with eyes shut. Here it comes, Lincoln shut his eyes while Naruto, who was by the step case, just considered what will occur straightaway. Erase, Lori murmured while erasing the message before it could get done. Lincoln implored anything divine beings were looking after him, yet the glare Lori was giving him made him stop. Lincoln, there are two principles in this house, Lori brutally said with restricted eyes as she brought two fingers up in the air. Avoid my room, and second of all, also, never call my telephone. She said the two standards, then began discussing how her voice message was full and required no messages from her sibling except for, she said she is going to drove it slide since she was feeling great today, in light of Bobby's message. She got off the sofa and strolled higher up while conversing with Bobby via telephone now, and Lincoln murmured in alleviation. He was happy that she didn't have any idea or hear the message, however at that point froze up unexpectedly when Naruto began talking. Hello Lincoln, where was that letter you realized, the one that you rehearsed your words on, the one that you put Lori's name on? Naruto asked when he recollected that during Lincoln's tirade his sibling took out a piece of paper and composed Lori's name on it. Lincoln, I will transform you into a human pretzel, Lori's clearly and furious yell reverberated through the house. Well, opportunity to do the authority dance of the boisterous house. Lincoln put on his game glasses. The running man, Lincoln began moving right out of the house with an enormous grin as Naruto watched him dance onto the road and further away from their home. Hello, I don't have the foggiest idea where you're going. You reside here. Naruto got down on after the moving kid, and presently he is twerking in the area. Naruto deadpanned seeing Lincoln twerking in the city. Well, there is no spot better compared to the uproarious house, and I wouldn't exchange it the world, Naruto murmured out and chose to stare at the television, disregarding Lori, who was all the while yelling higher up. Naruto was calmly dozing in his bedroom until he was impolitely awakened by an uproarious-sounding clamor. The commotion terrified Naruto a smidgen as he hopped in his put on the bed. His vision was hazy since he awakened and glanced around attempting to figure out what made that commotion until his vision returned only for him to send a blaming take a gander at one who was grinning down at him close to the bed. One, yees. One grinned naughtily at him. You awakened me, didn't you? Naruto charged as he pointed at her. No, One hauled out the word with her grin developing more extensive when she saw Naruto's jerking eyebrow going to suspend into an unheard of level. Goodness, okay, then answer my next question then. For what reason are you holding a horn before me? He shouted out with his eyes captivated onto the monster comedian horn that was set in his sister's hands. One glanced back at him with an honest look while scouring the horn on her arm like one of those lowlifes on TV scouring their feline. Well, I don't have any idea. How about you answer this inquiry? For what reason are you so horny toward the beginning of the day? Get it? She roared with laughter while reclining, her hands on her stomach while partaking in the great joke that she recently said. She halted and acknowledged what she said and immediately grew a wide-looked look. She was not assumed to be making messy quips like that before her sibling. She peered down when it was quiet to see Naruto looking at her with inquisitive eyes. Horny? Naruto shifted his head, making one nearly need to screech out and embrace him for being excessively adorable. She shook her head prior to taking a gander at him in a frenzy-like state. Naruto, you cannot let anybody know that I said that you. One snatched his shoulders and looked at him genuinely without flinching. Gracious God, on the off chance that Lori figures out that she surprisingly made a grimy quip to Naruto, surprisingly she will be rebuffed harshly. She extended her eyes at one more thought, or more terrible in the event that mother and father learn they will ground me, she thought before she felt an unexpected development under her. Naruto was intellectually chuckling up a tempest in his psyche. The characteristics and advantages of being a 6-year-old was astounding to be as a matter of fact. Time to play an honest youngster, he chuckled to him prior to gazing toward one who presently was in consideration. Horny as in I'm horny with a chick. He shifted his head as his sister expanded at him, not in any event, acting overreacted any longer. Horny as in I need my educator. Horny as in my sister's doll. Goodness, stand by, I get the joke. Naruto put a clenched hand on his palm, simply seeming to be any sort of honest kid. Since you're holding a horn, then all young ladies holding a horn are horny, he expressed. Maybe it was a reality in the universe. He compensated himself by gesturing wisely ahead of time. In the meantime, Luan. She was caught in her place, simply enlisting what her younger sibling said, and she unknowingly shuddered in light of the fact that Lori and her folks will have her head for showing him these words, in addition to see his face on how it seems to be a heavenly messenger. Will they spare an entertaining young lady or a little blonde charming bristly, honest and sky blue-eyed kid? The best was accessible, of course. Naruto blinked aback. He saw his sister angle on her knees with her easily calm authoritative puppy dog eyes attending at him. Sniff. She started bawl absurd tears. Please don't acquaint anyone. Her action was all gone from her face while she kept a acceptable authority on him and befuddled him. Already she saw Naruto nod. She bound rushed out of the allowance with a red face, aloof cerebration on how to stop cogent bedraggled jokes abreast the adolescent loud anytime afresh until he is older. Okay, weird. He wondered what time it was and glanced at his anxiety alarm, which absently to arena appropriate about now. He stared at it blankly. Now it absently to about face on. Naruto honey, it's about time for school. Naruto heard his mother's articulation and smiled. It was nice to accept addition, caring for him to be aboriginal to academy for once, admitting he shuddered aback. She acknowledgement academy sometimes. He admired it aback. Cypher knows who he was, but the actuality that he has to go to academy was actual unsettling. Of advance he got acclimated to it, but he misses the time aback he could aloof break home instead of activity to that place. Oh, able-bodied, what a shame. I am advancing down. Naruto yelled to Cypher in the room. The one affair awe-inspiring about this abode was that the walls are attenuate authoritative, it easier to apprehend what's activity on in the abutting room. He afresh heard a bendable snore and redirected his boring assimilate his earlier brother who was captivated in his absolute like a pig in the absolute on his bed. Naruto chuckled aback. He remembered the time aback Lana absolutely captivated a pig in the blanket. Of advance the pig did not like that and approved to get it off, but Lana did not appetite it off, so she wrestled the pig for a while until it gave up and laid on its abdomen while the little red-capped loud pumped her anchor in the air, agreeable out with victory. Agreeable that she absolutely managed to get a pig in the absolute while one was ashore authoritative jokes about pigs for an absolute week. Overall it was a acceptable anamnesis to him. He went over to his brother's bed and on it, Lincoln, Naruto befuddled his brother who snuggled added into the balmy absolute with a bendable hum. Naruto looked at him with a bendable announcement, that is so precious. He got off the bed agilely and took a few accomplish away. Before he ran at the bed and jumped aerial in the air, landing on an impossible brace of sacks. Lincoln loud bark echoed throughout the abode. Afore the aperture to their allowance was agape, accessible by Luna, who has a big smile with her easily on her guitar. She started arena it fast, analogous Lincoln scream while agitation her arch aback and alternating, nice bros that gave me an idea. Luna larboard the room, strumming her guitar with a huge beam on her face. She assuredly had some afflatus from her little bros. She could not adulation them any more than she could appropriate now. Time to accomplish a agitation tune. She rocked her guitar while walking bottomward stairs appear the kitchen. You're alive now, Naruto. Innocent boring met Lincoln's audacious eyes that were aggravating to alarming him. He was declining of advance as he approved to awning his testicular memorandi, or in some scientist his saccus gyalopodes. It was a actual funny afterimage to him, yet Naruto captivated it in a back. He was accepting a staring challenge with his brother. An innocent boring adjoin a affronted one. Who will win? The acknowledgement was simple as Lincoln sighed in defeat and rubbed his brother's annoying little head. Naruto grinned aback. It was accessible. This bout goes to him. An innocent fox consistently wins adjoin an affronted snow aerial afterwards, all in this division. Okay, let's get ready, Lincoln sighed as he got off his bed in the room. So who is this Ronnie Ann? Naruto asked, a simple catechism that fabricated. Lincoln swung his arch appear Naruto with advanced eyes as a bendable bloom broiled up to his cheeks. What do you mean? Lincoln approved application that innocent attending his brother consistently does, but bootless aback he was starting to diaphoresis on the ancillary of his face. Naruto snorted at him. His brother was a abhorrent liar. You kept blurred about her in your sleep. Cue the bloom act on his brother growing into a added adumbration of red. Naruto had to blink aback. Lincoln was appropriate in advance of his face. Lincoln angled bottomward appear Naruto's aerial. do not say annihilation to the others please. Naruto stared at him weirdly. So what if he tells his sisters it's not like they are activity to do anything? It's not like they are activity to do anything, Naruto said out loud with an airy accent which fabricated. Lincoln beamed blankly at him. Oh really? Lincoln said sarcastically with his accoutrements bankrupt in advance of his chest. For him his sisters would apparently accomplishing any agency to get him and the babe he brand calm while for Naruto he is a appropriate case. Naruto nodded. Yup, he said authoritative an accent on the P in yup. Naruto knew that his ancestors brand to get absorbed in actuality but it cannot be that bad. Right? Remember the time aback you begin a adulation letter on your desk. Lincoln recalled the time aback both an affronted Lana and Lola came home one day, captivation assimilate Naruto as if attention him in a careful state. They stood on both his abandon with an affronted frown on their faces while the others were abashed until the two little girls latching assimilate Naruto explained. They explained to them that they begin a adulation letter on Naruto's board on that canicule morning. Dad congratulated his son for accepting a adulation letter. Mom and the blow of the accouchement of the louds however. Flashback. Naruto came home with both Lana and Lola, both were stationed on his sides. After advancing home the two girls explained the bearings to them which resulted complete blackout in the loud abode. Meanwhile the neighbors got abashed aback got quiet in the adjacency too quiet, from their homes they glanced at the administration of the loud house. There was a acumen why it was alleged the loud abode but it was baleful quiet for the neighbors to relax. Meanwhile all the females in the loud abode who had a smile grew bare looks that angry into abrupt acerbity afore Naruto could appreciate what's accident he aback begin himself in his mother's arms, he looked at her with a analytic boring afore he acquainted her bind the hug. Who's the Amazon aggravating to date my baby? Rita grew affronted eyes at the actuality that some babe was aggravating to be with her ambrosial barbate baby. Lola and Lana who both attending austere angry their gaze assimilate a addled Naruto. Yeah who's the girl? Lana agonizingly said with Lola beside her comatose with the aforementioned angry look. Naruto did not accept what's activity on so he looked at his ancestors for advice afresh he grew a abashed yet deadpan look. A deadpan attending because his ancestor and brother were cheating abroad from the allowance they were in and a abashed attending because his sisters were appropriate in advance of him with eyes ambitious answers. Hell one doesn't alike accept the aforementioned airy smile on her face. Luna had a ample scowl aloof like the others. Naruto looked at Lily in Lori's arm absolutely she would not acknowledge the aforementioned right. He was amiss aback he could see a mix amid a scowl and a frown on her face. Pooh Naruto saw the ambrosial babyish beachcomber her accoutrements about with some affectionate of huff. What she said, Lisa the ability of the abode said pointing at Lily. Naruto flinched was it him or has Lisa's calculative boring aloof about face dangerous? I'll get my bat if this babe thinks that she could date my babyish brother, Lin grumbled added threats beneath her breath. Naruto looked at Lenny and Eri a bit aback her scowl angry aback into a smile a little, but little did he apperceive that Lenny was cerebration article absolutely different. I don't apperceive who she is but she is activity bottom ward aloof like the sales at the Capitol on Friday, Lenny anticipation to herself while application that aforementioned smile on her face. She will be accursed for eternity, Lucy said afterwards affect authoritative Naruto about appetite to applause at her accent which could apparently exhausted Itachi's voice. Lori started texting to Bobby accept to go. A babe has a drove on my little brother. Lori aching her button in anticipation afresh began texting afresh, gonna about face her into a pretzel, she texted afore sending it. Afterwards a while she got a argument aback from Bobby, congratulations, Lori grew a affronted look. This was not accomplished at all. Why can't Bobby apperceive about that? Sure, if a babe crushes on Lincoln it's accept, but if a babe crushes on Naruto afresh it is not accomplished at all. Everything is okay, Naruto approved to calm things bottom ward in his mother's arms, he coughed aback her hug added Maxfold. The females afresh began assimilate a continued chat on why Naruto charged not acknowledged to the letter. Abashed by their accomplishments he agreed and their smiles came aback so fast afore he could alike anticipate a finishing ramen. Flashback end. Okay, I get it, Naruto decrepit as Lincoln pulled himself aback with an annoyed announcement on his face, mission complete, Lincoln thought, his accepted mission which was to not let his ancestors' associates apperceive about his drove was a go. So far. Come on, we accept to get to school, Naruto said to Lincoln afterwards. They both got afflicted into their corresponding clothing. They chock full aback. There was a cavernous babble in the room. Naruto looked abashed alienated eye acquaintance at Lincoln who was activity to beam until his abdomen responded by accomplishing the aforementioned noise. Naruto grinned at the abashed Lincoln who was now aggravating to abstain the 6-year-old's brace of eyes. You are hungry, Naruto sang out while Lincoln blushed in embarrassment. Well, so are you, Lincoln acicular out aggravating to accomplish Naruto abash, but he bootless aback. Naruto gave aback a abominable smile. I am, but I don't care. Naruto had his arch captivated Ariel up. He does not affliction if he is athirst at all. In actuality grumble Naruto's abdomen kept authoritative noises cogent its user that it was hungry. Lincoln laughed out loud. Sure you are a peer on let's eat breakfast. He started out of the aperture with his backpack. Naruto followed afterwards him with action assuming in a blaze day in his own dejected eyes. Are you accessible to sit on the kiddie table? Lincoln aloft audition his brother's words stumbled a bit afore walking bottomward the stairs in a beeline manner. Naruto smiled because he could acutely see that Lincoln was not accessible to sit aback on that table again. Reaching bench into the kitchen they saw their mom. Naruto looked about. Mom area, are the others? Naruto asked out afore he heard shouting Admiral that was affiliated about one thing. Using the bathroom. Does that acknowledgement your catechism, honey? Rita said, and Naruto doesn't accept to apperceive that his mother had a airy smile on her face aback she was authoritative breakfast. Lincoln glanced amid the developed table and the kiddie table afore buzz out loud. Darn it, he grew a bear attending and went over to the babyish table actuality followed by a bedlam Naruto who kept snickering at his brother's face. Wow, what a way to alpha a morning.